Praise 102.5, Atlanta's Inspiration Station. I'm Neiko, and today I'm actually joined by my beautiful wife,
Janice.
and we're joined by two very special guests. Of course, Valentine's Day is coming, and we love to bridge the gap here. And I thought, what better way to bridge the gap than to talk to a couple who have been doing it a really long time, but really great. And I'm not trying to age you guys, but I'm joined today by Grammy Award winning. You know him from the iconic group Arrested Development, and his beautiful wife, Yolanda Speech and Yolanda Thomas. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great.
We're great.
Yeah, we're doing fantastic. Thanks for having us on your vibe.
Absolutely. Now, first and foremost, I want the listeners and the watchers to get to know who is Speech and who is Yolanda, and how did this union come together? I love the who.
Okay, so basically, I'm Speech from the group Arrested Development, but also back in 91.
Yeah.
We had a hit song, Tennessee, at the time, and we were about to shoot our next video, which was going to be Natural. I saw Yolanda at the post office off Briarcliff, and she was in the back of the line. I was in the front of the line, and I saw her looking back. I saw her. I was like, yo, she's fine. And I wanted to talk to her. So when I was done, I just waited outside and waited for her to come out. When she finally came out, I pulled up with my Jeep, and I just approached her,
Yeah. So he came up to me and he was like, hey, I'm in this group called Arrested Development and we're doing a video and I want you to be in my video. And I was like, okay. So he gave me his number and he didn't ask me for mine. So I was like, that's interesting. And he said, we're doing the video in 3 weeks?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. So I was like, okay, I am not a video girl. So I was like, I don't know what this would be about. So I waited 3 weeks before I called him. And then, I called him and I didn't leave a message during that time.
There was no there was answer machines, but there was no, if she didn't leave her number, there was no caller ID.
Yeah. So I think I just
left a message. I had to wait longer. So I was like on pins and needles waiting for this sister to call me. So every day I was waiting for her, hoping she was going to call. So we ended up not doing that video, did a whole nother video, which was People Every Day. And then, anyway, she called 3 weeks later, missed that call. She called about a week later, 4 weeks. And finally we talked.
Yeah.
And so then we went to Piedmont Park. That was our first date.
Wow. Yeah.
And we just walked. We walked and talked. Now, I just lost my brother, my older brother, Terry. And he was 29 when he passed of asthma. And I lost my grandmother the same week. So we had a lot to talk about.
Yeah, it was an amazing date because he was the first man that I was ever able to just have a conversation with outside of my dad. You know what I mean? He could talk. Mm-hmm. It wasn't one word answers. He was telling me just really everything. We talked about how many kids we wanted, not together necessarily, but just what we were thinking about.
What's our life dreams, our goals, things like that.
It was so refreshing.
Yeah, it was dope. Yeah. It was a very great conversation.
Yeah.
And so I remember looking at her, and in my heart, I was just like, yo, she's cool.
That's right.
Not only is she fine and she's beautiful, but I felt like, yo, she's cool.
Yeah.
This girl right here
And
is cool.
I thought the same about him, too.
Isn't that crazy? Because we thought the same thing with each other. I always said that I wanted somebody who was also, I was attracted to, but I can kick it with.
Yeah.
It's like I wanted that balance.
Yeah.
And that was really big for me.
Yeah.
And I remember we talked about that when we first got together.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. So we've been together ever since. We've been together 30 years, and we've been married 27 of those.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's wonderful.
You know what I love about this is the fact that in our circle group, we're known as the OGs.
Word up.
Because
Come through,
everybody
OG.
come to us for marriage advice.
Word up.
We have everybody from 1 year to 6 months to 5 to 6. And everybody comes to us. And one of the things that we want to do with doing this is to bridge the gap and to have people who've been married longer than us speaking
Word
to
up.
us and give us advice.
Word up,
Because we
definitely,
still
yeah.
struggle and go through things.
Yeah.
And people
Yeah,
be like,
we do too.
"I'm
Everyone
married
does,
13."
yeah.
We be like,
Yeah.
13 years. They think we got it together. We like, oh no, it be
Right.
days. It be days, yo. Listen, like, even after 13 years, it's still a lot. And so
Facts.
I think it's
Yeah.
really important to have people who've been married longer to say, hey, listen, we've been through that like 2 years ago. Y'all all right. Yeah.
Word up,
So
yeah.
I think that's really dope. I think that's really dope.
Yep.
Word
Yeah.
up.
So I'm curious with you guys, what are some things that you've done over these last 30 years to help build trust with one another? Is there anything that you've had to overcome, like any really hard challenges that you've had to deal with?
Oh yeah, definitely. In fact, at the 1 year mark of our marriage, I'll back up a little bit because before we got married, we had this open relationship vibe going. So I was touring, there's different ladies that I was meeting and hanging out with throughout the world. And then when we decided to get married, I didn't have a lot of great role models in regards to what exactly marriage meant in the realms of faithfulness. Yeah. And my father cheated on my mom. They got divorced when I was 13. My father's father, was cheating on my grandmother, so on and on and on. So there's just not really a lot of great prototypes for me to just say, okay, this is what this looks like. So I cheated. The first year of our marriage, I was on tour and I made that mistake. I didn't tell my queen about that. And a year after we were married, we became Christians. And during our time of becoming Christians, we wanted to confess to one another and get, number one, the reason that Jesus died for us out on the table. Because a lot of people know the story of Jesus dying for them, but then they don't connect that with the sin that's tangible and real and practical in their own life to really understand, oh, right, Jesus died not only for our sin, but my sin. And what is my sin?
Yeah.
So it was getting it tangible. During that time, we confessed numerous things to each other. But one of the things I needed to confess was my unfaithfulness this particular night. And so I did, and it was devastating. I'll let you speak on how you felt.
Yeah, it definitely was just mind-blowing. I think a part of me knew that something was going on, but I just wasn't, I wasn't connecting with that. So when he confessed it to me, I had a choice as to whether or not I wanted to move forward in the marriage. And what I came to was, first of all, he told me, he confessed it to me. He was wanting to live a different life. And so what I was able to do is say, okay, I'm going to trust the God that's in him. And that's where, we were able to really build on our trust. Yeah. Because I really felt like, okay, he's really wanting to be a different man for me, for our family. And
So what I did is one of the things I did to help foster that trust was I had my queen on the phone secretly, and I called up every sister that I had something sort of going on with. And I told every one of them that I'm changing my life. I'm sorry for what I did. I have a woman that I'm married to. Some of them knew I was married. So, just sort of going through this conversation and saying matter-of-factly that this is going to change. Yeah. And a lot of times with sin, and making mistakes in life, you've got to make a 180, in order to really, truly show the person that you care about the most that you're changing, but also show the world that you're changing. Yeah. And so when you're able to make that true 180, it's a testimony. It's a testimony to yourself too.
Yeah. Right.
Because sometimes you need to see and hear yourself say, okay, I'm changing.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? It's one thing to sort of have that in your heart, but it's another thing to say it out loud and make moves that are honoring that change, that are real and tangible. Yeah. So when my wife heard me say it to each and every person and threw away those numbers, threw away those contacts.
Wait, not only throw them away, he burnt the numbers. Like we burnt it in a fire.
Wow.
Exactly.
Numbers and pictures.
And so all of this is symbolic, but it's also tangible. As to what I was willing and wanting to do. Yeah. And that was deeply important for trust.
Yeah.
And it still took time for trust to build. So another thing I did is I tour a lot, you know what I'm saying? We tour overseas constantly where I'm gone a lot, and sometimes for weeks, months at a time. So I wanted to teach her how to do some of the things that are needed on our road world reality so that she could come on the road.
Yeah.
And she did. And so then that took it to another level of trust.
Yeah.
So bottom line is just making tangible and action-oriented goals that show I'm changing. You see, here it is.
Yeah.
Nice.
So he taught me to be the road manager. So I still to this day am road
Nice.
manager for him. And it's not we're past the point where you
There's
know
trust issues.
trust,
Yeah, no.
you know, but it's what we do together now.
Yeah.
So it's been beautiful.
Right. There's never been any infidelity or anything like that since those days. So we've been married 27 years. For 26 years, there's been no infidelity of any type.
Love that. Love that.
That's great. I love that because I think nowadays you see couples, they're so quick to throw in the towel. You know, like
Facts.
everybody wants to have a wedding, but a lot of people don't know how to stay married. Like, and so I think that is so good to just share that testimony and that story because a lot of people, the second someone cheats, they're like, all right, I'm out. That's
Yeah,
it. You
yeah,
know, I'm
yeah.
not fixing it. You know, of course,
Right.
you know, everybody's, you know, barometer is different when it comes to infidelity, but
Facts.
it's always good to hear and see those stories of people like getting through it and coming out on the other side so much stronger.
Yeah.
And, to that point, it's one thing to just forgive somebody, but it's a lot more wise and understandable if someone forgives you when they are showing you tangibles. As they say, showing you receipts. You know what I'm saying? So receipts do count. And so if someone makes a human mistake, then if they're willing to show you the receipts that they are changing, then that's not just blind faith that you're going on now. You're going on tangible evidence, archaeological proof. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's dope. That helps anybody to feel more secure.
Right.
Yeah.
Love that. Love that. I want to talk about the churn for a little bit because we have a set of twins, a boy and a girl. They're
Come
8
through.
right now, and I'm just curious. I'm going to ask because I know we talk about this. Which one is the disciplinarian, and which one is more laxed? Yeah, parents wise.
Ooh.
I'll be honest. For us, we made and so this is our thing.
Yeah.
And this is our advice to anybody. We made a choice to be unified on this. So naturally, I'm not sure. I would say probably me.
Well, the kids were more afraid of him because of his voice.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Like I think that father energy just does
It's real.
something.
It's
Yeah.
real. It's a whole like baked in DNA, God created
Yep.
thing.
Yeah. And I think, so they have a more of like Dad said it,
Yep, yep.
But I think that we were able to, connect to where whatever he said, I was with. Whatever I said, he was backing
Yeah,
me up.
that's good.
So
And we often talked about what we were going to discipline for, what we felt were the sort of 3 deadly sins, quote unquote. You know what I'm saying? Like and so for us it was lying, help me out, fits of rage.
Yeah, so
and it was one other thing. Lying, fits of rage, and
Well, so they had different phases. So when they were like really young, it was lying, fits of rage, and biting.
Right. Yeah.
That we were not going to, go past that. But then once they got to be like 8 through 10, it was definitely, it still was always lying. Not listening the first time. Not
definitely. We had this big thing about obeying.
Yeah. like
So we literally use the word obey, which is an old school word. Like nobody hardly uses it.
Yeah.
And it halfway pisses a lot of people off, like the word obey.
yeah.
So, but we used it because it's a biblical term, and we wanted our kids to like have this connection with making obedience not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like obedience being dope. Like obedience is good. It saves lives. It really actually does
Yeah.
save lives. And we wanted to sort of make that connection. So obey was always one of our sort of top 3 things that we would discipline our kids for. But we would be united on that first before we sort of just went in, in our own particular ways on our kids. So we wanted to make sure we was united.
Yeah. And so we would just say one sentence. We would be like, you need to obey the first time. And they'd be like, "Ma," like they'd stop in their tracks because if they didn't obey, then there were consequences
Yep.
for those actions.
And we
our
were
daughter-
consistent with those consequences.
Yeah.
And both of them, they had times where if they didn't obey the first time, it was very, very dangerous. Our daughter jumped into a pool,
Yeah.
and she didn't obey the first time. She
Yeah.
jumped in the
In the
you know,
deep end.
In the deep
Yeah.
end.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
And she was
So-
2. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So she,
Oh, no.
Like, they
She just
gotta
started
get
bloop, 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 and just started drowning. Like,
We
oh,
told you you
Lord.
should obey.
We, yeah, he told you to
All right,
obey.
you gonna learn,
Yes,
huh?
Hard way, that's
You gonna
it.
learn.
It did. That was a hard lesson.
I love
Facts.
that. I love that.
Yeah.
I love the fact that this is why we're doing this, because just in the 10 minutes that we've been talking, I've learned so many things that I think that we can use in our marriage,
Word
and
up.
some of the things like the United Front, because we talk about this a lot, you know,
Yeah.
because I'm not gonna lie, I'm the fun one.
Aha.
And she gets on me. She was like, man, they know who to ask if they
Right.
want some candy.
Right,
They know
exactly.
daddy
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
throw them up and down. I'm
Right,
gonna do
right.
all the fun things, but they know, you know, they know what to come to her for. You know, so I love that. I love that. I love that. Anything
Can I
else?
say something on that right
absolutely.
quick? Well, kids will manipulate us, right? And y'all know that. But like, you know, but what and that can sometimes be harmless, but where it could get dangerous is it could sometimes drive a wedge between us, meaning the husband and the
Yep,
wife, right?
absolutely.
Because
Yep.
when your kids is only rocking with one parent at at certain times and others at another time, it makes that parent that's not being rocked with feel some kind of way. You know what I'm saying? And you feeling some kind of way about your partner. Like, so it is some real consequences to it, but also what we've come to the conviction of is children adore and love security and what do you call order, structure.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
love it. So
Yeah.
when you as a parent, as a team, can do your thing together as much as possible, it actually gives kids something that society won't tell you that it's what kids want. But it is what kids want. They
Right,
want
right.
structure.
Right.
They want like order where they understand what's coming next and what should happen with this, what should happen with that.
Absolutely.
They love understanding how the world works. We got to remember, your kid is 8, your kids are 8. They've been here 8 minor years.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not a long time. They've been on
Yeah.
this earth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Our kids are 28 and 25 now. But we always kept that in mind. Like, yo, they're only 2. They've been here 2 years. They want some order. How does the rules work?
That's true.
Yeah.
And that makes any kid feel dope.
Yeah, and we used to sit them down and we'd have like a little family discussion and we would say, okay, mommy and daddy are together on this. These are the 3 things that you guys are going to get in trouble for.
That's
It doesn't
good.
matter who, where, how,
Right.
these are the things. And so they would know, okay, that we have to stay in this,
Yep.
within
love
these
that.
lines,
But we weren't legalistic, too. I want to
Right.
say that. Like, our house was the fun house.
Yeah.
Our house wasn't a house where you can't, do fun stuff, go out here, do this, do that, watch TV, do this. Like, to us, the key was just follow these things. And the rest, it's all good. Like, we'll have fun with everything else.
That's good.
But, let's make sure you rock with these things,
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. We're gonna have a conversation.
Y'all, I mean, y'all are really speaking facts. Y'all, this is exactly why we're doing this. Again, if you just tuned in and you just joined us, we're speaking with Speech and Yolanda Thomas, of course. Speech, the iconic group Arrested Development. And we're just talking about marriage and how to navigate through. You guys have been in your relationship for 30 years. We're pushing next month, March, 13 years of marriage. So this is a beautiful thing because, like I spoke about earlier, we're always the ones giving advice. Yeah. But it feels so good for somebody to pour back into us, y'all. I'm not even gonna lie. So we appreciate it. Is there anything that you can tell our listeners, any advice? Because there are some young couples out there who are just starting their journey and trying to navigate. Because I tell people all the time, it's kind of what you mentioned earlier. Everybody wants to be married, but they don't know how to sustain the marriage when they get into it.
Right.
So
Yeah.
what advice would you give those people?
Yeah.
I would say that really, okay, the Bible says that with many advisors, plans succeed. I think young folk that are striving to do anything, but we're speaking about marriage today, need to have people that they see doing it and are at where they want to get to, and let them folks give them advice. Not just one couple, but a few couples, so that they can then choose what advice or what mixture of advice that they want to take, right? Because I think that there are so many people that are walking this path, and I think that God gives us hardships in marriage, in life, so that we can help those that are coming behind us through that same hardship, so that they don't have to go through all of what we just went through, right? And so I think getting advice, we got advice like literally every week we was getting with somebody that was telling us about ourselves, stuff that we didn't want to hear, stuff that hurt, stuff that went against the self-image we had of ourselves, of our coupledom. But it was necessary to help us to rethink and to think more wisely and smart about our journey. And it helped us, obviously, because there was numerous times where I'm like not feeling this chick right here and vice versa. She's not feeling me. Right. She's like, what?
Are you
What
kidding
is that?
me?
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? So it was many times when we weren't feeling each other, but we had to learn how to think differently and see differently, and in order to accomplish the goals that we were needing to accomplish, to move forward happy and joyful, and it worked. And that was a week after week, time after time, molding and refining. And I think all of us in life have to get comfortable. If we want to really rock life to the best of our ability, we got to get comfortable with refinement. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yep.
And, the Bible says iron sharpens iron as one man sharpens another. So we can sharpen each other and help each other to get better and better at the things that, we're striving to get really, really dope at.
Yeah. And I think for me, just learning in marriage, like I'm not marrying myself, he's a totally different person. And that we don't think the same.
Yeah.
And really being committed to understanding each other.
Yeah.
And talking through those things. Really like, okay, the whole love languages. I love that because I remember there was a time when, I was doing all the things. I was like, okay, I'm going to clean up and I'm going to, make sure the everything's perfectly done. And I remember us having a talk and he said, you know what? You don't have to do any of that. I just need you. Yep. I need your touch. I need you next to me. And so I was like, oh, I'm doing all this stuff thinking that I'm loving him.
Language.
Yeah.
Different
And
love
so
language.
really, connecting with each other's love languages and really doing that.
Yeah.
Serving them in that way.
Yeah.
That's been, one of the biggest things for me.
If I could just piggyback off to that, the Bible says that when a man and woman gets married, the two become one. Mm-hmm. To my knowledge, I've never seen the text where it says the two are one. It says become.
Yes.
It's a constant process. It's not just a snap, done.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. It takes some time.
Right.
Yeah, it takes some time.
Yeah, that's the post.
Right. I think it's always interesting because the longer you get into marriage, the more you realize and understand who you married in the beginning is not who you are with
so
now.
true.
Like they change, they become
Yes.
different versions of themselves. So you really have to work to understand this new version of your spouse that you're married into, because the same way that you're not the same person when you first got married. So I think that's what we try to strive to do is get to know this version of us now, because that's not who we were 10, 12 years ago.
Absolutely.
And the love languages thing is definitely good. 'Cause
Facts.
It's natural for us to try to love people the way we receive love.
Yep.
Yes.
But it takes so much more work to have to give somebody the love language they need, because that doesn't come naturally to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
That's good. Listen, Speech and Yolanda, this has been a great conversation. I'm so good.
Thank you so
I'm so glad that we've had this conversation. Thank y'all for joining Bridging the Gap, the couples edition. Yeah, y'all have to come back.
We
we
will.
we have to make this a thing, and we're gonna add some
Word
more
up.
couples to it too. So we're gonna get, because we need different couples from different age groups or
Yeah.
different
Word up.
marriage, I
Word
guess,
up.
lengths of marriage.
Yep.
So that'll be super dope. Again, thank y'all, Speech, Yolanda
you.
Thomas.
Yeah, thank
appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for watching.
Thank y'all. Bye.